America, I always tell people, is the best country in the world. We bitch, complain, and moan about the stupidest shit. They have no idea what it's like in all these other third world countries. No clue. They don't know what it's like. The laws are over there. They don't know everyone is corrupt over there and all these different things. Literally, you can come from nothing and become successful and become a multi-millionaire if you work hard enough.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms. Today, usually we would do this segment at the Whiskey Wall back in Connecticut. Today we're in the Everglades, and I am honored to have this gentleman with me, Tony. So Tony, you want to tell everybody who you are, give them some context?
How's it going, guys? My name is Tony Sentmanat, and I am the Director of Training for RealWorld Tactical. I'm a retired law enforcement officer and also a Marine Corps veteran.
Awesome. So Tony, what do you do now? You talked about being the operator, but you got sort of a big presence.
Pretty much, I run a company that does firearms training around the country, teaching law enforcement and civilians, as well as strength conditioning. I have a training program that I let people do online, and I teach around the country doing seminars. Awesome. It's called High Intensity Combat Athlete Training.
Awesome. So Tony, you know the drill, a good story and a tough story. Where do you want to go first, high or low?
Let's go with the tough story first. Back in 2007, 2008, pick up an armed robbery vehicle, Bolo vehicle, get into a small chase, bailout occurs. I have to run after the guy for about 2.5 blocks. After I run after him 2.5 blocks, then we go inside a warehouse. Inside the warehouse, I'm behind the corner, coming around the corner. He goes for my gun, grabs my gun, and I'm gonna fight for my life for about a good 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes. I'm able to get the gun away from him. He goes under my feet after fighting with him for about 1 minute or two because it was a small confined area. Run after him into the middle of the street and get him into custody. At that time, I was bigger than I am now, which I'm right now about 245 or so. I was probably about 260, 265, big stocky guy. And I had probably about 30 or 40 pounds of kit on me.
Wow,
So,
geez.
yeah, I was struggling just a bit on the cardio side. I learned it was definitely an experience for me in regards to fighting with someone that big. But the thing is that on the street, being that large or being a strong, muscular guy avoids tons of problems. Sure. Lots of paperwork because of the intimidation factor. Little did, most people don't understand that bigger guys, muscular guys really can't fight just because they don't have the cardio, or they do last maybe 30, 40 seconds, and that's about it. And that's what happened to me. I struggled very, very much, especially after running 2 blocks. Right. With all that gear, I was almost 300 pounds. So I was pretty much out for the count in my car for a good 45 minutes after. I felt like I had 2 12-inch blades in my lower back. It pretty much locked up on me. So I was, but it was tough. That was a tough one. And I would say the funnier story, man, it's so many. I could say there was one, which the surrounding story isn't funny, obviously. It was a murder-suicide where the husband, it was a domestic murder-suicide, and we had to clear the house. We found, as we were searching through the house, the bathroom was pretty much clear. It looked like it was clear. It was my job and another operator's job. I was in SWAT operations most of my career. This was a SWAT op. I had to open the door. The door was already open in the bathroom, and the curtains were pretty much like maybe a foot off the wall, but towards where the actual shower head is. Yep. So we pretty much almost deemed that it was completely clear. Obviously you could see from the door that it was clear. So I go in first. I go to search the bathroom. And in my head, I had already assumed that it was clear, so everything was good. And when I went ahead and pulled the covers and pretty much made an attempt to clear the tub, the husband was there hanging. And he was hanging he got a hole in the roof, in the ceiling, and he put a rope right on it, right on the shower head.
Scared the hell out of me.
And I shit myself. I straight up shit myself. I jumped back about 2 or 3 feet just because I wasn't expecting it, And the guy behind me, he was like, well, if Tony's shitting himself, I'm probably gonna shit myself too. So he jumped back about 2 feet. And after that, it was pretty interesting because everybody was laughing at me because I pretty much screamed like a fucking little girl. I was like, what the and that wasn't the end of it. And then we went in, we went to search the other bedroom, and the door obviously was locked to the last bedroom. So we had to breach the door. I went to try to breach the door to kick the door open, and those doors are made like a very flimsy wood. Yeah. So when I put my foot to it, my foot and my leg went completely through the door, but the actual door stayed there. It didn't go anywhere. So I was pretty much halfway through the door, and my leg was halfway through the door, and I was just like, well, this is great. It's one of those days nothing goes right, you know. And so I just fucking crashed right through the door, and you know, unfortunately, the guy's wife was there. He had choked her to death. Yeah. So, you know, in all, people don't realize that you see this very often in the SWAT, and you know, so we're pretty. I don't want to say we're immune to it, but we're used to it.
Sure.
You build calluses, and you learn to disassociate yourself from individuals that you don't have any, like, no family or friends or anything like that. So after we saw that, we couldn't just stop talking about what had just happened, because that was the highlight of it. Not thinking about, you know, the things that we just saw, obviously.
Sure.
And we had a lot of media in the front, so everybody was laughing, not at the fact that had happened, but it was laughing at the fact that I had gotten my fucking shit scared the shit out of me, you know. And so everybody had to, like, stop for a split second and get their composure back to walk outside of the door with a serious face, you know. So it was pretty hard, and people would walk out with covering their faces and stuff because they were still laughing about it. Laughing at me, per se, because I just had a really bad op.
That's
so
funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, you go all over the country. You're working with departments all over the place. You know, how does it feel to see? Because you talked about the media. How does it feel to see the challenges that these guys face now from a perception perspective?
I'll tell you, I'm a very old school cop. I was brought up in the old school. I started in the early 2000s in law enforcement, and I was trained by guys who had been on 20 years. So these guys were from the 80s, and that old school mentality is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. The old police work ways of, you know, chasing armed robbery subjects and doing whatever you have to do to get them in custody, that doesn't exist anymore. You have to be very careful with what you do. Obviously, everybody's always the first person to judge you and to criticize you on something that it takes you seconds to make decisions on, quick thinking seconds, you know. So it's tough. That was probably one of the reasons why I decided to retire last year, was because of that. I saw it, law enforcement going into not a downward spiral, but just a more, just too many challenges. Towards the end of my career, I didn't really see it. It's probably worse off for the patrol officer, just because you're like a bulb light, you know, bright light, you know, in the middle of the street, you know. I was more towards the undercover stuff, and I was in plainclothes at that time or whatever. I was a SWAT training coordinator, and I was part of a plainclothes unit that did a lot of surveillances and fugitive recovery type stuff. Gotcha. Those guys don't get as much problems just because they're invisible.
They're dark, right?
They're dark, you know. But still, you still feel the pressure from the up top guys.
Gotcha.
And it comes down. You know, when they're telling you, you know, we had been involved. My team had been involved in a couple of shootings back in 2013 or 2012, and we went to another barricaded subject, another op that we had, and they're telling you, hey guys, you know, be careful with what you do. You know, we had just been involved in these situations, you know. So, and that situation ended up being also as well that we got shot at as well that day too. And we were very hesitant in either returning fire or just doing what we needed to do, because we didn't want to get the backlash from the higher, you know, the upper echelon.
That's crazy.
So when it starts getting to that point, you got to really, you know, think about it. For me, it was a determining factor where I'm still in my 30s. I'm 37 years old, going on 38 now. And the business was really overwhelming me in regards to the traveling side of it. Sure. And in the job in law enforcement per se, and especially in SWAT operations, you have to be there 100%. Yeah. Why? Because your decision is going to decide whether you live or die, or your partner is going to live or die. Yeah. So if I wasn't there 100%, I started feeling it towards the end. I was already burnt out. I had been involved in some civil lawsuits that were hanging over my head. I had one that was hanging over my head for like 5 years in regards to a SWAT operation. And then I had another one that I had caught reference to another shooting that I was involved in as well. And those things take a toll on you, mentally, stress. And I just decided, you know, it was time. It was time for me to go and to pretty much to live my dream, because my whole dream, most of my life, was always to start my own business and be my own boss. Yep. You know, I think that's everybody's dream. At the end of the day, you know, do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's the truth. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to do that now.
Awesome, man. How can people follow you?
Instagram, it's RealWorld_Tactical. Facebook, just put in RealWorld Tactical, it'll come up. I also have my athlete page, which is Tony Sentmanat, my name. And then my website and YouTube. Website is RealWorld-Tactical.com. And YouTube, just all you gotta do is Google me, and you'll find me.
The man that every dude wants to have a beer with and every woman wants to sleep with.
No.
It's been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for being
much,
on the
man.
show.
Awesome.
Guys,
Thank you
make
for
sure to
having me.
share this video and we'll see you all in the next episode.